Do this. John, you ready?
Yeah, man. Let's roll.
All right, man. Well, thank you, number one, for coming on. I'm sure I hate to be between, a golf game right now and, and the start of your weekend, but hopefully I appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. Obviously, as I said earlier, we wanted to get you in here kind of as a setup for Tuesday. I think we're gonna have a big crowd on Tuesday, guys. Remember that this is on Tuesday. It is being sponsored by Princeton Mortgage. This is not just a Home Pro specific event. So if you've got friends, and this includes title and mortgage people as well, anyone that's a GEPAR affiliate or a GEPAR member can come to the 9 a.m. Jon Storey session on Tuesday, the 14th. They will have to leave at say 10:30, 10 when he gets done around 10:30, 10:45, because at 11, that's when we're going to have our big meeting, which really is going to be kind of a Thanksgiving potluck celebration. So John, I know a lot of your story and I know you share bits and pieces with people, but you got a pretty riveting childhood and you went through some stuff that a lot of people, I know that I had kind of this normal kind of storybook childhood. A lot of people, there's not a lot to say except that, I had this thing. Your life was a little different. Let's get started. Where were you born? Was it Utah?
I was born in North Dakota, New Rockford, North Dakota.
Okay.
But lived in Utah most of my life.
Gotcha. Did you say Minot, North Dakota?
New Rockford.
Oh, New Rockford.
I have family all over there, so yeah.
Okay, I've been to Minot, so very few people have, but I have. So
you can stand on a chair and see the other side of the state. That's how flat it is.
Yeah. You know what? I have a picture of a place that says that there's like this huge statue. It says you're in the center of the United States or the center point. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Some shrine there. I'll have to send it to you sometime. So you were born there. So how long were you there before you moved to Utah?
I moved when I was just before 3 years old, man. So I was only there when I was basically a little kid and then lived in Utah until I was 30 and then moved to Arizona now, currently.
Gotcha. So I know was it your father was a home builder? Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. My stepdad was. Yeah. So he taught me how to build homes, and so I can literally build a house by myself.
And you started this when you were in 11, 12 years old?
Yeah, so 12 years old is when I started working for their company. He got me a tool belt and he said, you can buy the tool belt outright and you make this amount of money, or you pay it off and you pay you a fee and it's less money, right? So he's teaching us at 12 years old how to basically structure your business right then and there, right? And then I had an accounting book and checkbooks and everything at 12 years old.
Amazing. Do you think that's what probably, was it that work ethic and those kind of skills and that accountability that kind of put you in where you are today? Can you look back and pinpoint that and say that's really probably set me up for the man that I am today?
Yeah, it wasn't fun with him being my stepdad for some of the years, but for a lot of the years it was good. So I don't always look at the negative, but I can tell you from the time I was 12 years and even to the day, he would wake me up at 4 a.m. every day. Hmm. People say, like, how long have you been doing this? Well, I've been waking up at 4 a.m. for 31 years. And he basically explained, like, when you get up early, where your friends were sleeping until 8 or 9, by the time you're done with work, they're barely like a couple hours into theirs, and you get to go enjoy the rest of the day. Plus, it just teaches you structure to where you're accomplishing more than most human beings do by the time they wake up.
And I have friends that are builders in Utah. You really have to take advantage of, early fall, summer, and spring, because when it's off season as far as building, as far as just, it's really tough between icing and snow. I assume that was the same for you guys.
Yeah.
So you go to normal like school during the day, and then in the summer you'd go to you basically build houses.
Yeah, when I was 16, then I started cleaning the job sites, and then I was going to school and working still basically 30 to 40 hours a week for him. And it was interesting because 10 of the hours that I worked for him, he made me pay rent and budget and understand, like, so that's why I'm so big about numbers and analyticals of ROI and everything that I do. But at that age, when I was 16, some kids were like, oh, he's making pay rent. But, I look back and I'm like, well, he paid for my car and it paid for my gas. So at 16, I was basically paying my own car payment, my insurance, rent to live at a house, all this stuff. So it is a pretty different upbringing compared to most when people complain about life, you know?
And I mean, it caused you a little turmoil as a teenager, I'm sure, with your mom, like, mom, why is this, who's this jerk you brought in here that's making me do all this stuff or whatever, I'm assuming.
Actually, I didn't mind that because, like you said, when there was the off season and it was snowing or whatever, at 12, I was door knocking doors and I was shoveling driveways for $10 a driveway. And then I picked up reoccurring clients. And so every time it snowed, I would go shovel their walks. And then I started doing maintenance because I had a skill set at 12 years old. I was doing all the maintenance out of an apartment complex and making sure that they had, chlorine in the pools. I mowed the lawns. I shoveled all the walks at 12 years old.
Amazing. So you went from, hard labor, blue collar skills to white collar, going into real estate. Where let's move forward. So you stay in Utah. I assume do you finish school in Utah? You said you were there till you were 30, I think is what you said.
Yeah, I had 2 semesters left to finish my college degree and dropped out because I was going to be a respiratory therapist. I clept the first year of the program, and then I realized how much money they were going to make being a respiratory therapist, and I thought that I was worth more. So I rolled the dice, got into real estate at that time, worked 3 jobs to make it happen, had my house foreclosed on, my cars repossessed, living off cup and noodle just to make it to where I am today. So I mean, people are always like, "Oh man, must be nice." I'm like, well, let's go back to where I started, and we'll go from there if it was really nice and fun, because it wasn't.
And tell me about that. So, well, let me ask you this. I want to take a step back. What was there a point where, you were like, I don't want to sling another hammer again. I don't want to, I don't want to do the hard things. I think there are people that go through life that just kind of say, yeah, that's not for me. I don't want to do that, and, as Chris Gill says, that some people are lazy, and I'm joking, of course, but what was it that brought you to kind of say, all right, I want to go? Was it the numbers? Because you like the numbers so much?
I mean, framing was a skill set. I mean, I think a lot of people in the younger generation aren't taught a skill set, right? Like, being a mechanic, changing a tire, being able to fix things. Parents, we live in such a different paced world, but I don't know, man, I liked helping people, and I was good at like closing people. And when I was doing home care respiratory therapy, the clients loved me. I had certain clients that they only wanted me to come to their house, and sometimes they call me at 10 o'clock at night when I wasn't even on call, wanting me to come. So I knew I was a relationship person at that moment, and so I thought, well, what can I get into that's basically relationship skills? And my mom at the time was one of Northern Utah's top realtors, and she said, well, real estate is a relationship business. And I wanted to go and be a mortgage broker. And she said, no, you can do that on the side through the company. You know how to do the furnish list checklist on selling new builds. It's the same thing as residential. Why don't you go into title? And so then I became a marketing rep, and then changed how I did all that kind of stuff. But my marketing strategies were completely opposite of what they teach you to do.
So were you married yet when you went in title?
Let's see. Nope, I wasn't married at that time. I'd gotten married when I started into title and got divorced within a couple of months because
Say single guy in the title business. That's a
and I was single for a long time during it. But it's great you asked that question, because I tell people all the time when they get into real estate, like people ask me and they're young or whatever, I go, how's your relationship? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I go, because this isn't a 9 to 5, this isn't an 8 to 5. I mean, this is, I had to take a call earlier this week. I had somebody that was had a gun in their hand and was going to commit suicide, and I talked to him for 40 minutes off the ledge, and I told him, I said, here's what you wish for, was to be a successful realtor, do all these things because of your past, but I said, it's lonely at the top, isn't it? I said, it's really lonely at the top. And I said, I can see it. I can see where it is. I said, but be thankful for the opportunities that you have. And I said, the only reason you're stressed and you feel like you're failing, and this is where the real estate market is, because you keep doing repetitive things with the same clients over and over. Now, I say to do that structuring wise, but as far as like getting your time back to enjoy life, that's where content gives you the freedom. And, I just told her what she could be thankful for and all these other great things. But yeah, man, I mean, it was kind of like a surreal moment, because I've only met her twice, but she felt like I was the only one that she could call.
She connected with you.
Yeah. And, talking somebody off the ledge when they're at that moment was, I didn't be like, oh my gosh, life's promising or whatever it is. I just literally was like, hey, you're a parent, right? She goes, yeah, I'm a parent. I said, okay. If your kids came to you and said the same thing, how would you react? And she immediately stopped. And she goes, that was enough. That's all she needed to hear. Because I think sometimes in our business, in our life, like relationships, and that goes back to where I forgave my stepfather, because like I said, there was a lot of good years, but then, you know, he whooped my ass for a lot of years too, you know, like beat me, and my mom watched it, and he was pretty abusive to me physically and verbally. But I, you know, I think when people like break up, right? Like say you have a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, and somebody goes, well, why didn't it work? We immediately go to the negative part of it, right? But there were positive parts. So why does our brain predispose to go to the negative, right? Like if you have a bad experience, it's just negative. Well, it was an experience to learn that you just don't want to do it again. So I don't know, man. My mind just shifted. I was the same person that always thought of the negative shit all the time. And then, you know, when I went to forgive my stepdad, I literally woke up one morning and just got on a plane and flew to Utah, because I didn't want to carry it into the next day. Like kind of the video I talked about with my daughter the other day on Instagram, where do the dishes today, because you know you're not, you know, you don't want to carry that into tomorrow. And then I had somebody on the thing tell me that I lost the Cool Dad award, and I said, I'll lose the Cool Dad award over teaching my daughter structure, because your kids will work for her.
Right. Right.
You got to pick your heart, you know. So just interesting on how people's perception of life is. But just like you were talking about the market, it's hard. This is actually the easiest market you'll ever be in.
Every market is, right?
This market right now, I would say in the last 7 to 8 years, is the easiest market you are ever going to be a part of.
It's interesting. We did a call yesterday. Alberto just nailed it, and I'm going to get it out to those that weren't on the call, but just, you know, really utilizing data and statistics. And there was one thing that was just really glaring, and in a good way, was just when you look at the appreciation factor. I think he started back 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and just kind of seeing and the opportunities and how many homes have continued to sell and how many homes keep selling. And so, you know, just it is a very interesting market. So back to you get the title. So I didn't know your mom was in real estate, so that makes a lot of sense now. So you get the title, and you become a title rep, and this is now in Arizona, correct? You've moved to Arizona at that point, or are you still doing that in Utah also?
I started my career in Utah.
Okay.
I mean, I started, you know, in the title industry in Utah is different. So where people, you know, it's funny, people will say, oh, you never sold real estate, you never done whatever. I'm like, I've done it all. I just don't, you know, they think I'm a title rep that's done that. But when I got my license to be a marketing rep, which here in Arizona, you can just go be a marketing rep. In Texas, you can just go be a marketing rep. I actually had to take the 2-week residential course and then take 2 state tests to be a certified title rep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And at all, like where most people that are title reps, they don't even understand like what a mechanics lien is, or, you know, process of an escrow or easements or any of that stuff. You know, they just are like, oh, I'm a marketing rep. I just, you know, bring you coffee and here's a pen type deal, right? Print flyers. But yeah, when I got in, I mean, it was just a different path. I really enjoyed it. And then obviously I got in it. And a year later, the market crashed.
It was like 2006, 2007 when you got into it?
Yeah. Well, Utah was a little different. They're always behind the times. But that was when they had a huge mortgage company that was taking somebody's appraisal license, and the homes weren't even done. And they were saying these homes worth this amount, writing their own appraisals, and, you know, making the neighborhoods bigger, and the back of the house wasn't even completed. And then they got caught and went, but it, you know, that was when they had, remember, straw buyers. They just take somebody's social and then just do a loan, but take the cash out and just then go flip it and be like, hey, we'll give you 50 grand of the 200 type stuff. That was really popular in Utah.
Wow. And you're right. Utah is a really, you know, we talk about New Mexico in Texas. We talk a lot about New Mexico and how kind of funky it is over there. I mean, Utah, you can't even open a title company unless you have a sign off from a senator, or at least it used to be that way. It was all kinds of stuff that they had going on there. We couldn't do title deals there to save our lives, barely. It was kind of nearly a racket, and everybody knew who kind of owned it and ran it. That's in the across industries there. So what brought you to Arizona?
My daughter. I had met her mom, and like I always like to joke, I said my pullout game was weak, and she got pregnant, and we had a kid, and so I decided I wanted to get out of Utah anyways. I felt at that moment it was a dead end, and of all places to go to Arizona, where my dad, my real dad, wanted to always live there because he liked the heat and everything. I'm like, I'll never move to Arizona, and then here I moved to Arizona,
Wow.
to be there, obviously with my daughter, which her mother passed away 3+ years ago from drugs and alcohol. So from the moment she was basically, one on, I was a full-time dad because her mom was just a fall down. You know, that's interesting because somebody asked me the other day, because I used to get a ton of shit from the people that I worked with. They're like, "Oh, John's always gone by 3." Well, they didn't realize I had to get home to get my daughter because her mom was drunk by that time and she was 1. So I
So,
mean, every day I had to be home by 3 because I knew there was a countdown on a clock to be able to get there to make sure my daughter was safe.
and that's, and we've experienced some of that. Many people on the call here, without getting too personal, know that Penny's had some heartache in her life with the child passing, and
Right.
taking on the grandkids, and it's one thing to lose, whether she was y'all were together or not, but she was still the mother of your child, to lose her, but then to also deal with the child. I assume that your child was having to deal with the emotions of losing their mother, and whatnot. It's got to be tough. I'm sure that was tough as a single dad, especially. So you're
Yeah.
there basically in Arizona by yourself.
Yeah. I knew one person when I moved here, and now he lives in North Carolina, but my family wasn't here. And then was interesting when I did get custody of my daughter and was going through all that court battle, all my friends turned their back on me because they listened to what she said. And then at the end, when I had won full custody, because at that point she only had 3 hours of visitation. Then when I took it all away, um, people were like, "Wow, we didn't realize that." I'm like, "Right, you judge a book by its cover versus reading inside the book."
That's right. That's right.
And so a lot of those people, obviously, it helps you weed people out of your life, man. Like go through some struggles in your life, or like I said, the person earlier, when they get to the top of the mountain, it's lonely at the top. That's why the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is a great book, because in one of the chapters it talks about your ego, where people they don't want to be successful, or I'll do speaking and they're like, "Well, I'm good at the deals that I do, whatever." I'm like, "So you don't want to go make $1 million a year?"
Hmm.
Like, you're kidding me, right? So you don't want to go sell another 5 homes and make an extra 50,000 and maybe go on the best vacation you ever could? And then you get them thinking. But the reason they say that is because they want, it's really interesting in life. People just want to stay grounded. Like, they don't want to go outside their comfort zone. Like a great story would be Denise, where she's talking about, like, "Oh yeah, I started posting." Well, if you got that one deal, think about how much money you've lost in the 11 months of this year by not being on social media. So if that was one that you missed, and you take your average sales price, let's just say you make $6,000 a deal. So in real reality, you're losing $6,000 a month by not doing something that is absolutely free. And that's what I tell people in my coaching. I'm like, this is just habits. Like, whether we are in real estate or not, we'd still get on our phones.
That
Right. Most people have, so why not make money off it? And I had a client the other day that I was doing a one-on-one with, and he was upset about his business, whatever it is. And I said, "All right, whoa. Let's go back to step 1 on how you onboard your client. What did you do?" And he didn't even follow the onboarding thing, because our businesses, they always say to get referrals. Like, my business is built on referrals or whatever it is, right? I said, "How are you going to get referrals if you don't even follow the referral flow list?" And so I asked him this question. I said, and this is common for every realtor, because I can guarantee you they don't do the same way everything. I said, "Why do you change the way you do business with every time you get a business opportunity or a new client? Why do you change that when our business is relationship?" And I listen to these realtors and I get them on these calls, and all they do is talk about the transaction, how they're marketing. They're not talking about, so like, I listen to people like, "Oh, I do email campaigns, or I do flyers," or whatever it is. That's great. But what's the relationship building that's in your business? You do a handwritten card or a text every once in a while. And when I started the goal setting thing the other day, and I said, "What are your goals?" Right. And I explained all the things that I needed. And they just kind of looked at me and I said, "So are you running a business, or are you just there?" Because if you actually ran a business, you would know all the numbers that I asked for. Because if you actually had a store, like, so each one of these realtors on the call, or anybody that were listening to this, if you actually had a store and you had to open it up every day, and you had to know your utilities, your bills, your ROI with your employees, You had to keep cash in until you had to count it out every day. You had to know how much foot traffic came in, how long they were, what your lead conversion was. You would do more business. But see, I'll ask people for their numbers, and all they know is how many deals they sold and how much money they make, but they don't know how many hours it took, how many questions they had, how many videos I did, what the flow was, what was my checkout list, how many people I added from that friend on social media. You know, all that stuff matters because that's how you scale a company.
100%.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just people don't want to put in the work, man, but they want the awards. Just like, I don't know if you guys have read the books Relentless or Winning. It's by Tim Grover, and he was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant's strength coach. And in Winning, I talked about it yesterday. There's a chapter. And so let's just say before you guys were realtors or whatever it was, you had a job and they're going to pay you $30 an hour, which at that point you're probably like excited. You know what you can base your life up on, $30 an hour. Let's just say that what it is. And in the book, he goes, our society is so weak, and real estate is one of the most ego-driven entities in the business because you guys, I have to be top 1%. Oh, look at my awards. Look what I won. Why do you need an attaboy for doing your job? You're getting paid. Why do you need a trophy? Like, does anybody call you and ask what ranking you are in real estate? Or, you know, they might want to know your clothes or like what they want to know is like, how do I work with you on buying a home? How do I work with you on selling a home? Who are you? What do I get by working with you? What's it like working with you? Instead, our industry, and the reason why that lawsuit came about is because they brag about their numbers. And like I told you before everybody got on the call, every realtor in the forums that are on, they're so worried about their commissions. Well, if you had value like I coach on, you wouldn't worry about your commissions. It'd already be there, which would be self-explanatory. So every time you have to get on the phone and explain why they need to pay you for your services, which that's what's going to go forward, that means you don't have a business. You don't have a sustainable business. But where I told you, I said these realtors are so worried about their commission, they should be worried about getting sued by their past clientele, because that just opened up Pandora's box for past clientele that if they feel you didn't do a good job, they're going to sue you. And now they can win. Because if you don't have like videos that walk them through the process, checklists that walk them through the process, books that walk them through the process with you explaining it so it's readily available, you are at a legal liability. That's right. 100%. Absolutely you are. You can't say it's not, because the number one consumer complaint against real estate agents is, you know, I don't know what's going to happen next. I always have to get on the call with them. I'm just waiting to hear back from them. Well, why don't we be proactive? So that helped me build my coaching to where it is. So my app, it's readily available. You want to go watch training videos at 11 o'clock at night? You have them. Any category you want. I don't have a video on there. I will make a training video on there. Why? Because I don't want to, I mean, obviously I'm not going to get sued for that, but I run my business on how I would want my clients to run theirs.
You said something a while back, and I stole it, of course, and you know, we steal from everybody, right? But and I use it a lot. I use it actually a lot, and some of you that are on here, especially been in my newer recruiting appointments, have heard me say it. But you know, you said something that, you know, basically, real estate agents are basically a kind of a one-trick pony, right? And I couldn't agree with you, you know, more on that, because at the end of the day, I'd love to sit here and think that, well, Home Pros agents are different than Remax agents, or Remax agents are different than Keller Williams agents, and so on and so on. But the reality is we all kind of do the same thing. So what separates us, and what is our value, and how do we make sure that the consumer knows that? And, you know, and I have the same problem as an owner of a company. Like, you know, I'm constantly going, you know, how can I help our agents, you know, give them something that makes them stand out, that presents value to the consumer? And I think that's going to be really honed in on through these numerous lawsuits now. You know, what is it that we're actually earning X amount of commission for? What is it we're actually doing? And we can all sit here and say, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, we give up, you know, games with the kids on the weekends and this and that. And I know, and I mean, I can look on who's on this call right now. I've got some heavy hitters on this call that work their tails off, but we've got to make sure that you know, our consumers, clients, whatever you want to call them, know what we're doing. I want to get it. Go ahead.
Let me jump into that though real
Yeah.
quick. You said they work their tails off. You know why they work their tails off? And it's no disrespect. You don't have systems and content to take away that time where you're doing repetitive business.
Right.
You're answering the same question with every buyer and seller you get on the phone, versus they should have the readily content in their hands prior to even telling them what it is, so they have an understanding where it is. Why? That's how you get time back. And I know it works. And the reason I know it works is because I coach realtors, number one. But when I was a title rep, to come out to what I built now, like I wrote books, like I wrote a course book. Like I have, I don't know where my book is. Oh, my wife has it, but I mean, I have this thick a book on having it. You know, I had a client that texted me about how to get more listings, and I have training on there, but I can always make it better. And here's where my brain works. This is why I love what I do. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and had an idea, and I wrote it out on that whiteboard behind me. Most of you would have went back to bed. That's why you pay me, because I actually care. But it's not the, you know, anytime somebody says I'm working my butt off or I'm always working, whatever, let me see what you do, and I literally will get you 20 hours back a week. Because I run my entire company by myself, and you know, I structure my business the way it is, and I do everything. And mine, I'm at 40 hours a month. Now, the repetitive things that I have to do for my business, do I count as work hours? No. See, and realtors do, but I just have my critical tasks, right? And people are like, yeah, I'm working hard, I've got all this stuff. Don't, you know, take the, I'm working hard or working my butt off, and be like, and instead of going, how do I work more efficient? You know, and somebody asked me the other day, and I think this is important for everybody on this call. You guys constantly are, you know, and I love that Chris is having his best month ever. And I think that that's great, or close to it. But when you guys are saying what's fire, you guys are all talking about your wins. And in my call yesterday, I said, I'm doing well. I know I'm doing well because my income's there, but I don't focus on the wins. I focus on my losses and how I can improve them to make them a win. So you guys don't focus on the losses when you go through a transaction going, wow, I'm on the phone saying the same thing I did with the last 4 buyers I had, or the last 4 sellers I had. How do I eliminate that in my business to build systems to build it better, right? And I think that's where a lot of people need to pay attention to that. Like, if you want to be at your kid's soccer game, then be at your kid's soccer game. Like, you know, if you want to be at dinner and not answer your phone, then be at dinner. You make that decision to pick up that phone, or make that decision to schedule that appointment. You make the decision. You are the entity that they're coming to work with, right? We obviously meet buyers and sellers, and you know, in our industry, the hardest thing to say no is to say no because you think you're going to lose a deal. Well, what's worse, losing a deal or losing your life to live life?
And this is so valuable. And you know, Caroline and Tanya, some people have been in this business a long time. I'm going on 30 years, and what I will say is, you know, you don't want to live with regret, guys. Alberto, I'm sure can attest this too. I've got 30 years, and I can look back, and you know, my kids are all grown and flown, gone to college, done everything, and they were thankful for what Dad did, but Dad wasn't around because Dad was always like chasing the next deal or chasing or doing whatever. And if I knew the things, you know, a lot of these things then, and I had coaches, I had 2 coaches at one time. I had big coaches, but you know, at the end of the day, I was never able to implement the efficiencies to really take control of my life. So so important, guys. You don't want to live with regret. And you know, I don't have bad regret. I mean, my kids don't. I'd sit there and I think, you know, but what my kids have all said is, I've said this before, maybe you heard this, is none of my kids have any interest in me in real estate. Why? Because they don't want to do what Dad did. You know,
It's funny because all my kids want to do it.
Right, of course.
Macy's like, I'm gonna take over your company. Like, one of them, I'm opening an insurance company for her, whatever it is. If I was to give anybody, obviously you got to scale your business by listening to your clients, building out systems. But I think for me, where I might have been differently, obviously being a dad, you know, I'm a little hard on shit. Everybody knows that, or whatever it is, but I'm a teddy bear when it comes to, you know, certain things in life. But man, it's my daughter taught me so much, my 13-year-old. And this is, and I say it all the time, this is where I literally changed how I did business. Okay. And I think kids aren't raised with a voice or an opinion. And I learned that at a young age with her. We were sitting in a car, I had a client that made a post, and you know, all the title company screwed up. Everybody know he worked with me. So I'm calling him like, bro, like, what did we do? He's like, oh, it wasn't you. I'm like, well, people know you work with me, so it looks bad. He didn't think of it that way, right? So I'm nervous about my business, nervous about, people thinking like, oh, Jon Storey messed up or whatever it is, right? And I get off the phone call, and I still have a picture of my daughter in it where she's in the back. I have a white Infiniti Q50. She's got a Build-A-Bear in her hand. At the time, I want to say she was 4 years old. And she looked at me and she was like playing with the bear. And she's like, Daddy, she goes, why were you so worried about what that person thought about you? I said, well, baby, it's our business, whatever. She goes, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. She goes, I love you. So that moment on, I stopped caring what people's opinions are, because we're so worried about what an outside opinion of people are. Like, I don't care if you like me or not. You may not like the way I say things or whatever. That's fine. Like, I love my life. Like, I'm happy because and people like me because I just keep it real. A lot of people follow me more on social media now, and you know how many messages I get? They're like, dude, I love it that you're in real estate, but you just keep it real. Like, there's no fluff. There's no like, oh my gosh, do this. Here's the doom and gloom. You're just like, dude, this is what it is. You create a skill set, you can't lose, right? But for those people that say work your tail off, a few years ago, my daughter, obviously got older, Savannah. A couple of years ago, she started crying when I would leave. So even when I go on trips now, she'll get upset, but she knows I'm coming home or whatever it is. She's a little older, she's busier, but at that moment she started crying. So I restructured my business where I did more one-on-ones and less travel.
Right.
And allowed me to stay home. Now, for you guys, just to understand, that cost me $25,000 a month. Okay, so most people would be like, well, is it the money? What it is? Well, I already made enough money to where I have the freedom, which I still do financially very well. But most people wouldn't have left that 25 grand. Why? Because our ego is so worried about, whatever it is, the doom and gloom or whatever, right? But I said, but I can never, ever get memories back with my kids. So you have to understand, is the next deal or missing a soccer game worth that next deal? Or is the memory that's going to last a lifetime that you were there? Pick one.
Yeah.
So when I would write out my business goals, one of the things that I would want you guys to write out is, for me, it was hard, dude. I in 2020, I sat at my desk right here, exactly how I'm doing this call. I have stacks of blank sheets of white paper. They're sitting in my desk all the time. So when I get ideas, I write them down, and I do blank pieces of paper, so I'm not confined into a line. And I sat here and I lost my shit. I was crying, miserable, because here I'm trying to write out my goals of what my personal goals were, and I realized that I don't do anything for myself. Because when I was writing my personal goals, it was to do trips with my family, spend 15 grand on a big trip, but also still do all the other things. Oh, do this with my family. But where do we put our time back with us? So we go back when you said, oh, you were a single guy in the title industry or whatever it was. Well, think about when we were kids, man. We couldn't wait to get out of the household. And then now we're out of the household. Now we have the adult life, but we have a different set of rules.
That's it.
No matter what you do in life, you have rules. You can't just go around doing whatever you want, right? So if I was to sell anybody, write down every day, like, what's a priority for you today? Like, what's a priority for you that just includes you? Mm-hmm. Like, not your kids or family or your spouse or what, client or whatever it is. What's a priority for you to accomplish today?
So important.
So every day.
We're coming up. We don't have to, I don't know if you have a hard stop, John, but we can go a few minutes over, but I do want to get a little bit more. And I appreciate, this is great. This is invaluable. I think, I don't want to speak for everyone on the call, but I think it's great to hear your history and all that good stuff. But these last, 15 minutes it's been huge. But I do want to ask you a question, because where was it when you were in the title industry that you started really kind of be the fascination with social media and the algorithms and how they worked and why they didn't work and things like that? Where did that start, and how did you go about, to where you are today, that you can really understand that? Because most people will say they don't know. Like, you hear it on the news all the time. Well, we don't really know how the algorithms work at Facebook or Instagram and things like that. Where did that start, and what did you do, and are you still perfecting it on a daily basis, or do you see changes? What worked maybe a year ago doesn't work today, et cetera?
Yeah, I tracked, dude. I mean, I ran a business even though I was working for a business, right? So I knew that I only had a certain amount of times in the day because I had Macy full time, and I had to drop her off and I'd get there. So I had to learn how to get the masses, but I had to learn how to create a relationship without them knowing who I was because I was new, right? So, that's when I learned of tagging too many people in a post or too many photos or, a video in a photo or posting too many times in a day or, resharing old memories or all that stuff that killed algorithms over time, because it was annoying or too much real estate or, all the other things about where they shut people's pages down or, Instagram went from photos and then they went from reels and then you invited stories and then you got YouTube that evolved and then you got TikTok when you're 12 and then Snapchat was going to be the next greatest thing. And, there's so many things out there. And I knew that if I wanted to hit the masses, my thing was going, what is the best business relationship building tool ever? And it was social media. Because I would go, so since I've left El Paso, between you guys, I do the same thing. I've stalked people and I've added them because you said there was somebody that knew who I was, but I added people. I was just adding people down in El Paso because I knew I was going to do an event. I knew I was going to come back and I'll come back again. So, just on this call alone, I already had a couple of people follow me on Instagram from El Paso knowing that I'm coming.
Right.
And so this is where target lists help me understanding the algorithms. So you think about your audience of people that have used you, past clientele, current clientele. Those are actually where you make your money, not the future clientele. That's how you build relationships, right? But to keep a relationship, you got to engage. So let's just say I was going to go do an event, right, at an office. I would write down the target list of everybody in the office. I'd sort it on an Excel spreadsheet. And every day prior to those meetings, I would make sure that I was liking those people's posts. So when I walked in the room, they didn't know who I was, but they knew my name. Because when I would like their posts or engage on their posts, literally, I'm not even kidding you. They'd be like, bro, do you have somebody that does that for you? And I'm like, no, I have a system. And I've mastered it over the years because you can master a system if you do it every day.
Right.
So like I tell people, 4 to 5 times throughout the day, I would sit in my car and I'd go a couple hundred posts. Then I let it go because if you get it too much, it'll shut you off. And then a couple hours later, I go and I do it again. Because it kept building the audience. So if I'm engaging with certain people in the audience, when my content would go out, I'm telling social media, those are the people I want to see my stuff because those are the people I'm liking, right? So if you are engaging with other realtors or tagging other realtors or liking other realtors' posts when they're your competition, just know you're losing money because that's not your ideal client. Your ideal client is somebody that's actually going to buy and sell a home with you. And when I kept telling people that, nobody believed me. But 5+ years ago when I opened up my company, I literally wrote a course on how to change your algorithms. And you'll see it all the time. People are like, dude, I have a whole new viewing audience. I have people I haven't seen in forever. Just like, where Denise, the reason, people are seeing is because you're engaging. You went to the same high school, wherever you graduated, those algorithms work together. That's why they have the bio section, right? So that's why you have to have a clean bio section and have your about section, created correctly on all platforms. But it literally, what I tell people is like, how can I get to everybody at once, but I don't have to be there? Like we're doing a Zoom call right now where Zoom was invented versus me having to do this interview in person when I was there. So I'm now planting seeds prior to me getting there on Tuesday.
Right.
So that's the power of social media. It's the power of video. It's the power of systems. It's the power of what I coach on. And, it's just the easiest way to make money and get your time back to where now I don't work as much as I used to, but when I first started my company, I will tell you I was working 60 to 70 hours a week. Because you have to build it at some point, right? You have to sacrifice. So that, the 3 a.m. that you saw here me doing this week, that was every single day. And if you're in my training, you'll see that I got videos with really shitty lighting, with lighting in the background, because then I changed it around. And I never took them out because I just want to let you know, I started somewhere and the videos eventually got better. Just for you guys, it's always going to get better if you continually do it, right?
Right.
But what I have, and I kept those videos in there for the sole purpose. I go, you see the lighting, right? You'll see that there's lights. It's not natural light, but there's lighting you can see in the reflection. Just know I was filming those videos at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. All of them.
Gotcha. So I have like 2 more questions for you, and then I'd like to open it up, and maybe we'll try to keep it succinct. So here you are today. You've got over 300 coaching clients that are at least on your platform, and you do multiple speaking engagements. What keeps you grounded? Because I mean, I mean, it's easy. You've got the fancy cars. You just got a $200,000 truck. I mean, that's all great in the day, but but when you go to your social media, you see all these guys, and you and I are friends with some of them. We know who they are. That's their whole life. That's all they want to show off and just brag. What you brag about, what I see is your kids and your family. And is that what keeps you grounded?
Yeah, man. I lost myself for a while there, man. I mean, I was in with the Lambo and all that shit and thought that was cool. And, everybody thought it was cool because people were feeding my ego, right?
Right.
Dude, I lost myself so bad that there were some days I'd look in the mirror and I'm like, who in the fuck is this guy?
Right.
Here I'm making money. I got nice stuff. I got things. It's there. And then, I just went back to the basics, dude. It's not hard to go back to the basics if you've tracked your business and how you do it. And a lot of people don't understand it. And in my coaching, I literally teach people how to do that. Like the moment you feel off tilt, just go back to step one. Because between step 1 and step 6, you mess that up. But yeah, I mean, I like the trucks. I like the cars. I like the stuff because I work hard for that. And my kids like it. And I just show them, like, if you work hard, you're able to do certain things. I mean, I just got my first hole-in-one the other day. And I was with somebody who was like my brother. And he's like, the next morning, he's like, I can't believe I witnessed that. It was so awesome to experience with you. And then I got my guys at the country club. They're like, of course you do it, not at our course because you're barred, so I bought a Lamborghini. Everybody said, congratulations. Like, oh, you got a car. But when I got a hole-in-one, the sincere messages that I got.
You know what was so great about that, John? I got chills watching that. And I watched it and listened to it a couple of times. And it wasn't the fact that you got a hole-in-one. You could hear the elation of your friend who was filming it.
Right.
And like, he was just, I mean, it gave me chills. I was just like, man, that's so awesome.
We couldn't see it. So we literally couldn't see the ball. We couldn't see the way the green was. We couldn't see the bottom of the pin. So we didn't know it went in because we're 220 yards away. And I hit a 5-iron, and one hop and went in. And I'm like, I think it went in. Because I've had a lot of hole ones that were close, right? And they're sitting on the edge of the cup. And you're like, really? Not today. Okay, great. And then when we run up there, I'm like, dude, it's not there. And so he's up there and I'm running up the middle of the fairway.
Right.
In my mind, I'm not thinking, I'm like, the cart is actually faster than me running because I'm a 43-year-old man and I do not have the wheel speed that I used to when I was younger. So I got to remember his body I'm in. So literally, if you see me slowing down at that moment, I'm out of breath. I'm like, But then it just, all of a sudden, it just went away when it went in. Like, a moment you just snap out of it. And I was like, dude, that's so awesome. Well, so I tell people this, man, like, it's great that you guys do business. It's great that you get the awards. And take the two scenarios. I could talk about my Shelby that I just bought or my Lamborghini that I had, which I do. I teach people how to build the principles and like why I did certain things because they were bucket list things, which now I've got them checked off. But then I also got a hole-in-one. They're both very rare moments in life where you meet people that have a hole-in-one or you witness a hole-in-one, right? But what you guys take into consideration, the Lamborghini is how you guys advertise as a top 1% realtor, all your numbers, whatever it is. I advertise my hole-in-one now of the success of my clients, the success of my kids, the success of, Colette doing well in title now, the success of just living life and having fun. Because the people that gave me the attention with the Lamborghini, I lost myself. Now that I run my business about how I do my hole-in-one is when I found myself again and I became a better person. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still a grinding asshole in a sense, right? But I wake up with a better purpose in life.
Right.
Because when I had the Lamborghini, I woke up with all these things that I had to do in my brain to keep the Lamborghini. And now I just keep it simple with the two things of how I wake up every day, And, it's so funny is my daughter, she comes home and every time she comes home, she knows I'm home. She goes, Daddy, I'm home. Your babe's here. And I'm like, or Daddy, I'm home. Like, she's the only one that does it. And I'm just like, that's the best joy. But you guys have to understand, and you guys are helping people with the biggest transaction ever their entire life. And you make it about you. I'm helping you guys funnel more deals and help you guys live a better life. stop making it about you. If you make other people feel good, I promise you'll make more money. And I was so in the look at me stages, whatever it is. And you know, it's funny, as people will give me shit when I go with people, they go, bro, why do you always tell people to Google you? Like you're famous and shit. And I'm like, no, bro. I go, do you know the real reason why I tell people? I'm like, well, Google me. Because they'll bring out their phone. It helps my ranking online. I don't have people go to my social media. I said, yeah, man, just pull out like your Google real quick. And I'm like, and type in my name, and they'll type in my name, like, cool. Because it still gives me all the platforms that they can find me on, right?
Right.
But now I just got a Google analytic where people are looking me up and researching. So when people, push it, I mean, that's how algorithms work.
I love it. All right, one last question, man, and then we're going to open it up because we are way past time. But what's next for Jon Storey? Besides going to be in El Paso on Tuesday, but what's next as far as the, a year, 5 years, 3 years? Any big hairy audacious goals you've got that?
Yeah, I'm opening up an insurance company. So we're getting some people licensed and getting it trained. I got a business partner. I'm building that for my daughters to have as a company. Right. Because he's got 2 girls, and so we're basically, we're 50-50 partners, so we're just leave to the kids. But I want to get that up and running. I built that company and started that company to help realtors have another stream of income and to get licensed, and we help. And I said, because if they're going to trust you with buying a home, I'm sure they're going to trust you with their insurance. But it's another reminder of going, oh, they're my insurance agent, they're my real estate agent. So it's going, how many hats can you wear to really keep your business sustainable? And so in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd like to open up more businesses like that help people that help me. Does that make sense?
Of course.
And sure, am I going to make more money? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm going to pay people better than anybody will, because pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. You look at our industry, I mean, it's an interesting turn. And yeah, man, I was just, once you make a certain amount of money, you realize that now if you take the same entities that you have and don't focus on the money, but you focus on the people, bro, I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made when I first got into business. I focused so much on the numbers versus the people.
Such good advice.
Because you'll talk about your closings and your volume and your rate, and to change your mindset, like, Chris, to give you an idea, instead of saying, oh, I did this, I'm gonna have the best month, be like, dude, I had the best month. I helped 5 families find their dream homes. Like, that was awesome. Instead, most realtors say, what? Oh, I closed 5 deals for XYZ. I'm gonna make this money. Don't worry about the money. Be like, dude, I helped 5 people. And in those 5 people, let me tell you the experiences that I gave them with, some of my coaching. And I started, implementing and recording videos on stuff. And they were so ecstatic. And then when they sent me a referral, they knew how to refer me because I already had videos that they could send to their clients and do that. So when you guys come back on this and you say, what was the win? If I was coaching you, I'd say, don't ever say that again. I want to know how many people's lives you impacted this last week or this last month. I don't give a shit how many deals you got. I want to know how many you helped them and where you made the mistakes. Sure, you can, like, in the group, in the thing winning, we know you won, you closed the deal, but I want to know where you made the mistakes so I can fix the mistake to turn it into a win. And that's my focus every day now, versus just bragging about the wins. Because I used to be the guy. I bragged about the wins. I bragged about this, bragged about that, whatever it was. I was that guy. My ego was there because I was scared of not being accepted. And now I'm just like, I don't care. I mean, I got guys in a group chat right now. The guy I'm playing in the tournament tomorrow, he's like, I don't even want to play, bro. John wins. I'll just go to the bar.
That's hilarious. Well, listen, this has been great. You've been so candid, and I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I learned so much about you. And I mean, you and I have had a lot of, one-on-one FaceTime, over the years or so that we've known each other or whatever. But I mean, this was great, and I appreciate it. Who's got a question for Jon? A question either about what he talked about today, or a question about Tuesday, or something you'd like to know or hear. Anybody?
Don't everybody talk at once.
Hey, Jon.
Yeah.
My name is Michael Bayan. So I just kind of wanted to touch a little bit on you said you're starting a insurance company,
yeah.
And that's something that I dabble with on the side as well. Aside from real estate, are you talking about life insurance or home insurance?
It's funny that everybody goes to life, right? But everybody needs auto and home. So the life insurance industry is screwed up, because my company's the opposite, because if you get them an auto and home and you can save money there, then you can sell them on the life insurance policy and everything else. The problem is you guys are all life insurance because it's a quick buck, right? That goes back to, there's just so much misrepresentation in this world about, like, I make all this money, like, in my stories I said realtors are so busy building their downline versus just go sell homes and people will come. And I said, and there's a lot of panels that go on here in Arizona that are different in a lot of states, and they get these producers. But the two questions I would have if I was in the thing: number one, what's your overhead a month? How many employees does it take basically to run your business and income? And number two, where are your numbers today? Because I pull a lot of these people's numbers and I'm like, one of them used to be a $30 million producer. They're an $8 million producer now. But you're going to give advice. But life insurance is the same, bro. So it's just the same philosophy. Is like, I would get your auto and home first and then go do life and then do real estate, if you wanted my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Jon.
If the little I know, Jon, and I obviously insurance doesn't cross state lines, so it's different state to state, right? But the property and casualty licensing is more complex than life, which at least to get, from what I understand. So I think that's another reason there's so many people that kind of get into life, and then people like Transamerica and some of these other companies come pick all these kids up and say, hey, get your license and go cold call in the yellow pages and get some appointments or something. Who else got a question for Jon?
So, Jon, quick question. For what would be like one or two or maybe three things that you would strongly recommend to us realtors that we need to improve to have a better image with our clients and potential clients in the future? What do you recommend for us to really concentrate, focus, and improve?
So when you go through your next transaction on a buy and a sell, write down every question that your client has. And then you need to build systems around that, because those are current clients, right? And then so your past clients, you need to create a touch campaign. That's why I think Facebook private groups are important for that, on how I coach and I build that out, because you can keep them entertained. And then, track your stuff on an Excel spreadsheet. What time do you wake up? What time do you go to bed? So how many hours you're giving yourself a day to generate business. And that's why I fix people right away, because if you're not up before your clients are, how are you going to get more business, right? And it doesn't mean you have to go get out of bed. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do laying in bed from your phone, right? And then the other one is be more proactive in your business, not reactive. So if you have a client that's calling you or asking you about a situation, and you're like, oh yeah, I feel good about answering the question. Well, the value would have been they didn't even have to ask you the question. They should have had it readily available, right? That's why I talk about the questions. The other thing is make it more personable. Like, I was listening to you about your email campaigns. Well, if I saw your email campaigns, I'd probably fix them to where you had more people reach back out to you, because I'm sure you're just sending it just like every other realtor, and you may not. But if I got an email from you, why would I want to call you other than just buying a home? So your one entity is you're going, I just want buyers and sellers, right? Well, if you change your business model and you're like, I just want to create conversations, the buying and selling will come. So when you think about your content that you put out, whether it's emails or cards or social media, my whole thing is to create conversations. I love to ruffle people's feathers, because I already ruffled some people's feathers with my story about that, right? Oh yeah, well, what'd you? And I'm like, well, you don't worry about me, bro. Obviously, I struck a nerve with you having to DM me that, right? But
yes,
it's no, with the guy that DM me. But it's when you put out information, make sure you're having a relationship conversation versus transactional, because I think in our business, we are so transactional when we talk about things, and be more present and just asking about them, because the business will come if you learn how to do it, right? And that's where I can say I made a ton of mistakes in my business, is that it was always the transactional, but it's going, how can I be of service to you? So you think about your clients and as a list, like, what do they truly need? Well, they might need a list of handyman people or a gardener or whatever it is. That's of value, right? So beyond just doing the real estate transaction, where else can you help your clients? People are like, oh, I do this and I do this, and that's great. but it's, like with my listing presentation, I talk about like, are you going to charge them 1, 2, or 3? And I had all my one-on-ones write me back a course on what they would do. And they tiered it differently. And I only had one client that said, well, I would give everybody the same service because they all know people I don't know. And I said, you're the only one that answered it right. Great job. It's yeah, man, you just gotta be more intentional just outside the transaction and make it fun. That's the other thing. When you guys are doing these activities and you're doing it right. So Alberto, like, think about your emails, be like, am I making this fun for my client if they're gonna read this? Like, I did a whole training yesterday on goals, but I had people dying laughing with things too, with what I was doing, even though I was busting them up about their goals, right? They were lying, they were laughing. I had this pregnant lady in front of me and she'd give her numbers and she's like, thinking of something, like, ma'am, for the 5th time, it's not about you. I just needed some numbers. Now we're fine. We're good. Like, rub the belly and get it. Like, you just gotta have fun, dude. People don't have fun anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would say. Every action item you're doing in your business, learn to make it fun.
Love it.
And you attract more bees with honey, right? So
Yeah.
make it fun. Make it fun.
That's right. Who else?
Thank you.
Great stuff. Anybody else got a question or comment?
I have a question for you. So I'm also a builder's rep that represents a good builder here in El Paso. And you said to unfollow a bunch of agents, which I did. And then I realized, like, not most of the business, right? But if I help that agent write up a contract with that builder that I represent, I still get paid a small, not a percentage, but just like $2,000 or $1,500, whatever. So my question to you is, I'll keep unfollowing agents, or
Don't engage with them. Just don't engage with them.
Just don't engage with them.
You got to understand where you get your business, right? So, I mean, most people don't run a business like probably what you're doing, right? Okay. So I got the traditional agent going, okay, if you want more business, you want the consumer, right? But if you're there and you just want them to see your content, just don't engage with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, let me ask you this. Do you make more money doing that, or do you make more money selling homes?
Yeah, selling homes all day.
So you got to pick the avenue, right? So what I would personally do, I'd build out a whole YouTube channel of all my buildings and my new builds that I have. And I wouldn't worry about the agents bringing the business. I would just bring the business. Or you create a private Facebook group and you put the realtors in there, and then it doesn't kill your algorithms on that. Hey guys, I'm creating this group for my builder, referral network of where it is. That's what I would do. So there's 2 ways you can do it. Number one, I would, for sure, if I know where I made my money, was buying and selling homes more versus getting a $1,500 check for somebody, whatever it is, right? I mean, it still takes the same amount of time, right? I would just create a private group, keep them in there, and then build out a YouTube channel and a playlist of where it is. And then I get rid of them, bro. I mean, it's just that's what I would do. Cause people base their business off just certain things. Oh, I got a deal here and there. Right. Okay. You got a deal. But if you got 6 deals from consumers this month, just like where Denise is saying, oh, I finally started posting and got a deal. Well, I could already tell her she's already missing more than one a month. So you have to really understand, like, who you engage with is who's going to grow your business. Does that make sense? So you got to understand, your last 10 deals, were they realtors buying homes with you?
No.
There's your answer. Then there's your answer. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that's, it's the 80-20 rule. I always talk about this. People run their business off 20% of people's opinions because they don't want to, lose that business. I run mine off the 80% that like me. I don't give a shit if 2 out of 10 people don't. Because there's always going to be people that don't like the way you say something, do something, whatever it is. Trust me. I've tried the whole thing. I've tried doing presentations as properly as I can. And then I had people going, I want the old John back. And in the book Relentless or Winning, it talked about how Tim Grover did a speech and they told him he couldn't say the fuck word. But people in front of him were saying it all the time. And he got on it. It still was a great speech, but he said he'll never do that again. You know why? Because it wasn't him. There's no amount of money that can change who you are. Does that make sense? So think about where you make your money. Why are you changing how you do business? Right? That's why I say, why do we treat every transaction differently? Every transaction should be the same. So if that kind of makes sense for you, that hopefully that helps you.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Good stuff. Who else? Caroline, do you have a question? I saw you.
No,
No?
just a comment. Hi, John. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Just a comment when you were talking about people's opinions. And I had to learn a long time ago for my own mental health and for my own peace that people have a right to their opinion, even if they're wrong.
Yep.
And so when they say something, my job is to see, is there any truth in what they're saying, and be adult enough to deal with that, but throw the rest away instead of wasting my time trying to prove them wrong. Just let it go, because it'll consume you.
Right.
If you worry about all that. So that's what I do, is just dissect it. If there's no truth in it, say, you have a right to your opinion. That's great. But this is how I do things. And thank you very much. Have a great day. But we always do need to examine to see if there's any truth, so we can continually grow. But yeah, if you don't do that, you're going nuts. But I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is like, is this opinion going to change my life? No. Do they pay my bills? No. Are they in bed next to me? No. Are they in my kid's life? No. Yeah. Guess what? It don't matter. So you just got to keep it simple. I would say keep it simple, keep it fun. If you're not having fun, take a shot at tequila, and sometimes it gets fun. So that's kind of how life works.
Don't worry about it. You stop that defensiveness, that sense of angst, that you present.
Yeah, I mean, I had it last night when I was out. This guy knew who I was. This other guy knew who I was, and the guy wasn't paying attention, kept bumping into the dude's wife or whatever. And he's like, "Hey, bro, your guy keeps," and he didn't even know. And I just took him outside. I'm like, "Hey, man, like, I can't hear in here. I just want to tell you and not embarrass you in front of people." And like, this buddy of mine's saying that you keep bumping his wife. He's like, "Bro, I have no idea." And I'm like, he just asked me to just talk to you because he, obviously my friends. And he went back in. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize that I was doing that. Not a big deal." And they were fine. It's dumb stuff like that, dude. That just keep it simple, though. Right. Cool. All right. I'm excited to see you guys next Tuesday.
We're excited to have you. Thank you so much, John. This was awesome. This is recorded. I'll probably snip it a little bit on the front, and then we'll put it out. John, you're good with us putting that out on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally fine.
Okay, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a wonderful weekend. Go think a bet. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. So just always keep that in mind. And remember, the office is closed, and we'll see y'all on Tuesday. If you haven't marked on the Facebook invite for John's event, please do that. I've sent like multiple requests for it. The only reason I want that is I want to take it down. If we get to the point, I want to make sure that we have enough space for all our Home Pros folks, but it is open to the public. And right now we only have like, I don't know, 25 or 30 that have marked they're going. We can hold 100, but I know there are going to be a ton of Home Pros people just because they're going to be going to the meeting after it. So please go and mark it. And then when we feel like we're at a point where we're like at 70 or so on that, we're probably going to take it down. Doesn't mean that other people won't show up anyway, but if you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Frank, I said yes, but I'm taking a +1.
Okay. +1s are good.
Okay.
And obviously, guys, if you got agents, I can't recruit at this because it's a Gepar event, but if you got agents that are friends of yours at EXP or Keller or anything, bring them. The more the merrier. That's why we did this with Princeton sponsoring this versus being just a Home Pros specific only event. So bring as many as you want, or even your LOs, your title people, bring them. I think it's great. If we can help make our industry better, that's better for all of us.
And Frank, it's our Thanksgiving dinner, right?
It is, yes. And so that's the other thing. We've been sending multiple emails out. You're going to get one every day between now and Tuesday for both John and for the potluck. So if you haven't gotten with Donna, we'd really appreciate it if you are bringing something for the potluck. Please let her know, and she can also tell you what we're in need of. Or, for example, if you want to bring a pie, I'm not saying we do or we don't, but last year we had way too many pies. So we're trying to track that better now, so we have enough of the right things. What I will tell you that we have enough of for everyone is we'll have all the meats, mashed potatoes, and stuffing. We're bringing that. So that's all taken care of. So, but casseroles, pies.
I'm going to roll off. I got to get on a call. So
okay, yeah. We'll see you later, man.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
Well, I'm bringing a big batch of homemade potato salad.
Love it. I can't wait. All right, guys. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for everything you guys do.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.